or they try to.
Welcome back to the Pittsburgh Business Virgin. We are here today with Chuck Denning of XVP Solutions. Segment one, he was talking about the growth and how he became a business owner, all the good times that the company was having. And now we kind of hit a bump in the road, so to speak. So Chuck, pick us up where you were after being a sole supplier for 9 years to a large
Fortune 500
500 company, supplying them with their needs, their promotional items, and then we kind of hit that bump in the road.
Yeah. Well, what happened was we had a contact in the organization that had trusted in us. We even used their corporate credit card to buy materials. And they trusted us so much that we felt quite comfortable in the whole relationship. Well, that person had died. And we were told that the people that we were dealing with now were the right people to work with. Where there wasn't a lot of whining and dining and a lot of interaction with these people. They always said we did a good job, all that type of thing.
Yeah.
And what we learned was, in the
No
meantime,
reason for concern.
That's right. What
Yeah.
we learned was, in the meantime, they created an organization called Supply Chain Management that was really taking over all the purchasing for the organization. And about this time period, gasoline started to spike. This is the early days of the gasoline spike. And we were making free deliveries. We were, going to different areas making deliveries for them. And I said, geez, we need to start to look at this a little bit because this gasoline
starting to bite into
cutting into things.
Profits.
Yeah. So when we started to inquire about that, we started to learn that, oh, no, it's supply chain management taking care of all these things. And when we inquired, they said, whoa, wait a minute. Man, with this type of agreement that you have, we shouldn't have any issues like this. You guys should be making boatloads of money.
Yeah, plenty of money.
Yeah, and that simply wasn't the case. Well, it started a whole atmosphere of renegotiating the agreements. And we went down this path of going back and forth with very erroneous requests. Things like having a website in 14 different languages. It just seemed odd to us because we never have had those requests in the past. And what we had learned was supply chain management actually had an incentive to try to reduce costs. That's what their being was about. And
well, they hire these people, so they got to justify their existence. And the only way a dollar saved is a dollar earned in their viewpoint.
Yeah, and we tried to talk with these people and explain the history. We thought that would be important to understand why we have this set up like this, why the whole financial setup was arranged like it was, so that they'd have a firm understanding, because what it looked like on paper was really much different than it was operating. Yeah. And it finally got to the point where you go back and forth enough, and you feel like there's an undercurrent that you're not going to win. So the final
all the way
straw,
to the point they wanted to actually look at your guys' books.
Exactly. They wanted to look at our books, and because they were convinced that we were making way more money. They came into our warehouse. They wanted to be sure that we were carrying the inventories that they felt that we were carrying. It was all there. But then they started to make requests. We want automated inventory. We want barcoding, things of that nature.
You would meet the criteria that they wanted, and then something else pops up.
Exactly. So it was like you could get a sense like somebody else is whispering something to them that they've got some new and improved type of way to handle things.
Yeah.
And so we finally got to the point where when an agreement was offered, we looked at it, and when you start to see all these requests for different language websites, and barcoding, and it was just off the wall at lower fees than what we were used to working with, we decided to say no.
But the challenge here is that by making that decision where you drew the line in the sand and said, we're not going to do this, you knew you were pulling the plug on 95% of your revenue, though.
Yes.
And you also knew that it was going to end up, I think you said you had to lay off like 10, 11 people, right?
That's correct.
That's got to be a tough conversation and decision.
Well, first, the decision was very tough. My wife really had a tough time because it was a big part of her feeling good about what she was doing in her life, and the success. She'd brought something from a very small idea to something very large that she never had dreamed about. So that was a big, big hurdle to overcome. But then she couldn't even talk to the employees because she couldn't bring it to them to let them know that what happened. So I had to do that, and I cried. I could barely talk to the employees to let them know that, hey, that we've lost the agreement. We're going to have to go a different direction.
As we wrap up this segment, I think some of the key learnings, because I think this is huge. I mean, there's a couple things. First of all, the guy that you had a key relationship actually passed away.
Right.
So I mean, that number one is the relationship. When you have the relationship with these companies, you gotta realize a lot of times the reason why you have that relation or that business is because of the relation, not because you're the cheapest, best, blah blah. The other key is, I mean, you had 95% of your eggs in one basket,
right.
which is just
Not a good place to be.
But as you said, for 9 years, it was never an issue. It was like a drug.
Oh, it's a drug you can't get off of.
Yeah.
You're not gonna
but
turn a
also,
business
when you
down.
got that much volume coming in from one company, it's very difficult to go out and develop more relationships. So I think one of the key learnings, especially for someone that has a business out there and has a lot of their eggs in one basket. And listen, we always have the 80-20 rule. You know that as a business consultant, but it's always invest in expanding the book of business, because you're either growing or dying.
That's right.
And even if you have some good things, you got to go get more, because you never know when something out of your control is going to pull that plug.
That's right.
But I think also one of the things that is a huge learning for someone out there is that you were willing to make the tough decision.
Yeah.
And you wanted to keep to your principles. And a lot of people wonder why Heinz doesn't provide, as an example, Heinz doesn't provide the ketchup for McDonald's. I actually had a wonderful opportunity of sharing a flight right next to a McDonald's executive, and he told me that in order to do business with McDonald's, you have to open up your books, and they dictate to you how much profit you're going to make off of them. And Heinz was not willing to do it.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of people talk about Walmart. Walmart, same thing. You know, so you have to, at one point or another, you got some principles and that you're going to want to stick to and not be dictated to. So I think it's a great story. All right, we're going to come back with Chuck Denning, XVP Solutions. Go to his website, xvpsolutions.com. I want to, in our next segment, really get down into what you do as far as working with small business owners and coaching. I want to really dig in and have people understand how it is that you help them and how you work and everything else. So come right back for segment 3 with Jim, or with Chuck, excuse me.